All right, let's jump right in. There's something pretty huge going down in the world of DeFi, and it's all happening on the Hyperliquid platform. They're about to roll out a new stablecoin, USDH. But listen, this is not just another digital dollar. This is a massive experiment in power, in money, and really, in community control.
So I want you to just mull this over for a second. Seriously, what if a community, the actual users, could vote on who gets to print its money? I mean, forget about central banks, forget about these giant corporations. What if the people who actually use a financial platform got to decide who holds the keys to its core currency? It's a pretty wild idea, right? And it's exactly what we're digging into today. So this chart right here really lays out the whole problem Hyperliquid is trying to fix. As you can see, right now, something like 95% of their stablecoin liquidity is all tied up in USDC. That's a ton of concentration, with all that power in the hands of one single company, Circle. Now, sure, it works, but it's also a massive single point of failure. And maybe more importantly, it means all the profit, all the yield generated by that capital just flows right out of their ecosystem. And that brings us right back to that big question we started with. Because see, Hyperliquid isn't just asking this as some thought experiment. Nope, they're running this thing live, for real, and putting the power to print money directly into the hands of their community. All right, Section 1, a DeFi power play. And really, that's the perfect way to describe it. This isn't just about launching a new coin. It's a straight-up strategic move. By creating USDH, Hyperliquid is trying to smash that USDC monopoly, bring in different sources of liquidity, and, this is the big one, completely reshape their own economy from the inside out. So what is this thing, this community-chosen stablecoin? Well, at its core, USDH is a native stablecoin pegged to the US dollar. Simple enough. But here's the critical twist. The company that gets the green light to actually issue it, they're not going to be picked by some C-suite executive. The decision is going to be made entirely by the community, all through on-chain voting. And getting that green light is a real three-stage gauntlet. First up, you have the validator proposals. This is where credible issuers basically make their pitch. Here's why you should pick us. Then, stage 2 is the community vote. This is where everyone weighs in and picks the winner. But it's not over yet. The final step adds this fascinating bit of game theory. The winner still has to go head-to-head in a gas auction to actually lock down the right to deploy. And believe me, the contenders are absolute heavyweights. You got Paxos, and their whole deal is a rock-solid regulatory reputation. Then there's Frax, a true DeFi native with these insanely deep liquidity networks already built out. And finally, you have Agora, who's teaming up with MoonPay, which gives them a huge leg up in getting new users on board. Each one of them brings something totally different and strategically valuable to the table. Okay, so why does this all matter so much? I mean, why is the entire crypto world watching this one vote? Well, as you might have guessed, it all comes down to the money. $220 million per year. That's the number that has everyone's attention. Analysts are estimating that if USDH can just grab 15% of the platform's market share, that's the kind of capital it could generate. But here's the thing. The most important part isn't the number itself. It's where all that money goes. And this slide really gets to the heart of the economic shift. You see, the old way, with USDC, all that yield just bleeds out. It goes to an external company. But the USDH model, it creates this incredibly powerful feedback loop. The value that's generated by the platform's own users, it actually stays on the platform and it benefits those very same users. It's a closed loop. So how exactly does that work? How is that yield recycled? Well, that $220 million can be pumped right back into the ecosystem. We're talking about things like buying back the native Hype token to help support its price. We're talking about boosting the rewards for people who are staking their tokens. And we're talking about funding all sorts of new incentives for both traders and developers. It basically turns the platform into its own self-sustaining economy. Okay, so we get the event, we get the huge financial stakes, but let's bring it down to the individual level. If you're a trader, how do you take all this news, all this complexity, and actually turn it into a real edge in the market? The answer is something called market intelligence. And look, this isn't just about reading the news headlines. It's about using specialized data tools, like Ave.ai, for example, to see what's happening underneath the headlines. It's about tracking the real-time flow of money, the sentiment, the on-chain activity, and turning all of that noise into a clear, actionable trading opportunity. So, one of the first signals that pro traders watch is what's called smart money flow. This just means keeping tabs on the big players, the whales. When are they getting into a position? When are they cranking up their leverage? These kinds of moves are often the first sign that major volatility is coming, and the right tools can ping you the second it happens.
The next big signal is liquidity rotation. This is super interesting. As USDH launches, you can literally watch on-chain as capital starts shifting out of USDC and into USDH. You can see if money is flowing away from competing platforms like DYDX or GMX and pouring into Hyperliquid. This movement of capital shows you where real conviction is building, often way before the price starts to reflect it.
And finally, there are event-driven alerts. This is so you don't have to be glued to your screen 24/7. You can set up automated alerts for the key catalysts, like the moment a governance vote passes or a new asset gets listed. This lets you react way faster than the rest of the market, who are probably still waiting to read about it on Twitter.
All right, as we start to wrap this up, it's really important to understand that this USDH launch isn't just happening in a bubble. It's actually the main event in a much bigger strategic upgrade for the entire Hyperliquid platform. Yeah, so at the very same time USDH is being rolled out, the platform is also slashing trading fees by up to 80% on certain pairs and juicing up the rebates for market makers. The goal here is a big, coordinated push to improve liquidity across the board, bring down trading costs, and just make the whole ecosystem a much more attractive place to be.
At the end of the day, this quote really nails it. This is not just a stablecoin launch. It's a capital reallocation event and a governance milestone. It's about fundamentally changing who gets to earn the profits, how the financial plumbing is structured, and how power is actually handed out on the platform. Which, of course, leaves us with one last big question. Is this the future? Is this a model where communities can truly and effectively govern their own financial worlds? Or is this just one really grand experiment that's going to teach us some valuable lessons, no matter if it wins or loses? The vote is coming up, and you can bet the entire DeFi space will be watching to see what happens.